Two paths to the same destination, both starting with Chevrolet's small block architecture, yet arriving at completely different philosophies about American horsepower. The 383 stroker and the 400 small block, one born from garage floor ingenuity and midnight racing mathematics, the other from General Motors' corporate conference rooms and displacement wars, both pursuing the magical 400 cubic inch threshold, both rewriting the rules of small block performance. The numbers reveal the surface tension: 383 cubic inches of precisely calculated aftermarket engineering versus 400 cubic inches of factory controversy. But beneath those numbers lies a fundamental divide that split the hot rodding community for decades. The 383 stroker represented the triumph of the builder, proof that any shade tree mechanic with the right knowledge could out-engineer Detroit. The 400 small block embodied factory excess pushed to its limits. GM's attempt to squeeze big block displacement into small block architecture? Consequences be damned. One became the darling of every speed shop in America, the go-to recipe whispered at cruise nights and proven on drag strips. The other became the orphan of the small block family, dismissed by magazine editors and showroom buyers, only to be discovered decades later as a sleeping giant. But which approach actually delivered? The answer exposes the eternal tension between building versus buying your performance, between perfected theory and raw potential. Historical context and development. The story begins in the late 1970s when resourceful racers discovered they could drop a 400 small blocks crankshaft into a 350 block, creating 383 cubic inches of rule-bending displacement. This wasn't corporate engineering. It was pure hot rodder alchemy, born from the need to maximize displacement while staying within small block racing classes that limited cubic inches to under 400. The formula was elegantly simple. Take the 350's reliable 4.00-inch bore, add the 400's 3.75-inch stroke, and suddenly you had 383 cubic inches that transformed ordinary 350's into giant killers. Early pioneers like engine builders at Speedo Motive and Lingenfelter Performance Engineering refined the combination, discovering that this wasn't just about displacement, it was about achieving optimal rod ratios and piston speeds that naturally favored high-performance applications. Meanwhile, General Motors had taken an entirely different approach in 1970, creating the 400 small block through brute force engineering. Faced with insurance companies penalizing big blocks and emissions regulations tightening, GM needed maximum displacement in a small block package. Their solution involved boring a 350 block to its absolute limits, 4.125 inches, requiring Siamese cylinder bores where cooling passages between cylinders were eliminated. The 400 was GM's admission that displacement still mattered, even if it meant engineering compromises. External balancing, unique steam holes for cooling, and reinforced main caps made it the oddball of the small block family. While racers were secretly building 383s in their garages, GM was selling 400s to suburban families who needed torque for towing boats and trailers. The Golden Age. The 1980s and early 1990s witnessed these two approaches diverge into entirely different performance cultures. The 383 stroker became the underground hero of American street racing, spreading through word of mouth at cruise nights and validated in grudge matches on industrial roads. Hot Rod Magazine's 1985 build article showing a 383 making 425 horsepower with common aftermarket parts sent shockwaves through the performance community. This wasn't exotic anymore, it was achievable. What made the 383 special was its perfect deception. It looked exactly like a mundane 350 under the hood, fit where a 350 fit, and used mostly 350 components. But when the throttle opened, it delivered big block torque that left unsuspecting challengers wondering what just happened. Speed shops from jegs to summit racing began offering complete rotating assemblies, making a 383 build as simple as ordering from a catalog. By 1990, the combination was so proven that crate engine manufacturers started offering complete 383s, legitimizing what had started as renegade engineering. The 400 small block, meanwhile, lived a strange double life during this era. In showrooms and driveways, it was the forgotten engine, the smog-era boat anchor that nobody bragged about owning. Low compression ratios, restrictive heads, and weak camshafts meant factory 400s wheezed out barely 200 horsepower despite their displacement advantage. Suburban dads appreciated the stump-pulling torque, but performance enthusiasts walked right past them at salvage yards. Yet, in machine shops and circle tracks, a different story was emerging. Savvy builders discovered that the 400's massive 4.125-inch bore accepted big block-sized valves and flowed air like nothing else in the small block family. When built properly with aftermarket pistons and decent heads, the 400 could support over 500 horsepower while maintaining street manners. The same engine dismissed by magazine editors was secretly winning races, its builders keeping quiet about their unfair advantage. Technical brilliance. Beneath their similar displacement figures, these engines revealed fundamentally opposing engineering philosophies. The 383 stroker represented calculated perfection through aftermarket evolution. Its 3.75-inch stroke with 4.00-inch bore created an ideal 1.48 to 1 rod-to-stroke ratio that naturally balanced piston speed with torque production. This wasn't accidental. Builders discovered this combination delivered peak volumetric efficiency right in the streetable 2,500 to 6,500 RPM range. The magic lay in the mathematics. The longer stroke generated substantial torque from idle, while the moderate bore size maintained excellent quench characteristics and flame propagation. Modern 383 builds utilizing lightweight forged cranks and better rod angles achieved what GM never could: big block torque with small block revving ability. Aftermarket support exploded with application-specific pistons, offering compression ratios from pump gas-friendly 9-to-1 to race-ready 12-to-1, allowing builders to tailor their combination precisely. The 400's technical approach was pure brute force. Those Siamese cylinders that everyone criticized, they enabled the largest bore ever fitted to a production small block Chevrolet. The 4.125-inch bore could swallow valves that wouldn't physically fit in a 350 head, creating breathing potential that exceeded many big blocks. The external balance that mechanics cursed actually strengthened the reciprocating assembly by reducing internal loads. GM's engineers had unknowingly created the ultimate foundation for extreme performance. The 400's thicker main webs and priority main oiling supported massive power increases. Those problematic steam holes actually improved cylinder cooling under extreme loads. What seemed like compromises were actually hidden advantages waiting for the right builder to unlock them. Challenges rise. By the late 1990s, both approaches faced mounting challenges that threatened their dominance. The 383 stroker's popularity became its own worst enemy. Every street racer had one or knew someone who did, eliminating the element of surprise that made early 383s so effective. The combination's success also attracted inexperienced builders who threw together mismatched components, creating poorly balanced engines that vibrated, leaked, and gave the combination an undeserved reputation for unreliability. The cost reality hit hard. While magazine articles preached budget building, a properly constructed 383 with forged internals, quality machine work, and proper balancing easily exceeded $5,000, not including heads or induction. Builders discovered hidden expenses, clearancing the block for stroker rod swing, custom oil pans to clear the longer stroke, and upgraded timing chains to handle the increased loads. The affordable stroker wasn't so affordable when done right. The 400 small block faced existential threats. GM's LS engine family arrived in 1997, offering similar displacement with aluminum construction, superior head design, and modern fuel injection. Suddenly, the 400's iron block seemed prehistoric. Core supplies dwindled as cash for clunkers programs crushed thousands of potential donors. Machine shops reported increasing crack rates in surviving blocks, particularly between the Siamese cylinders, where decades of heat cycling took their toll. Environmental regulations delivered the final blow. Both engines struggled to meet tightening emissions standards without sacrificing the performance that made them desirable. The era of throwing cubic inches at every problem was ending, replaced by sophisticated engine management and forced induction. The transition. The evolution came gradually, then suddenly. By the early 2000s, the 383 stroker transformed from exotic build to crate engine commodity. GM Performance Parts legitimized the combination with factory-backed 383 crate engines, complete with warranties and corporate endorsement. What started as renegade engineering became so mainstream that entry-level builders skipped right past stock rebuilds to stroker combinations. The aftermarket responded with even wilder mathematics. If 383 inches worked, why not 396 or 408? The original 383 formula became merely the starting point for increasingly aggressive stroker combinations. Modern manufacturing brought prices down while quality improved. Complete rotating assemblies that once cost $3,000 dropped below $1,500, making stroker builds accessible to budget builders. The 400's transformation was even more dramatic. Around 2005, enterprising builders discovered that combining a 400 block with modern 4-inch stroke crankshafts yielded 434 cubic inches, naturally aspirated LS killer territory. Suddenly, those unloved 400 cores became gold. Prices for usable blocks tripled seemingly overnight as word spread through forums and Facebook groups. The ultimate irony emerged. The factory engine nobody wanted became more valuable than the stroker everyone built. Machine shops developed specialized techniques for the 400, improved Siamese bore cooling, priority main oiling modifications, and splayed cap conversions that transformed the boat anchor into a competition foundation capable of supporting 700-plus horsepower. Legacy and modern impact. Today, both approaches have achieved legendary status, but their paths to reverence couldn't be more different. The 383 stroker has become the universal language of traditional small block performance. Walk into any cruise night, mention 383 stroker, and everyone understands exactly what you mean. Not just an engine, but a philosophy of intelligent modification that proves builders can improve on factory engineering. The 383's greatest legacy isn't the specific combination, but the mindset it created. It democratized performance building, proving that displacement increases weren't reserved for factory engineers or wealthy racers. Modern LS and LT builders apply the same principles, immediately seeking stroker combinations to maximize their platforms. The 383 taught generations that the aftermarket could perfect what manufacturers compromised. The 400 small block's vindication came through patience and recognition. What seemed like fatal flaws in 1975 became competitive advantages in 2025. Those thick main webs that added weight, perfect for 4-digit horsepower builds. The Siamese bores everyone feared, they left more metal for extreme porting. Modern builders pay $2,000 for good 400 blocks, more than complete running 350s, because they understand what GM accidentally created: the ultimate traditional small block platform. The philosophical divide remains. Do you build your displacement through carefully calculated aftermarket engineering, maintaining control over every specification? Or do you start with maximum factory displacement and build from there? The 383 argues for precision and planning. The 400 advocates for potential and possibility. Both proved that in the eternal quest for cubic inches, there's more than one path to glory.